The history of tarot does not begin with mysticism or fortune-telling, but with culture play and social symbolism in late medieval Europe. In the 15th century, the first forms of tarot appeared in northern Italy, in prosperous cities such as Milan, Ferrara, and Bologna. These regions were centers of art trade and intellectual development, and provided the perfect environment for the emergence of new forms of entertainment and visual expression. The earliest tarot cards were known as cartes de triomphe, meaning cards of triumphs, and were used as an elaborate card game that was popular among the aristocracy and elite. These early cards were not ordinary playing cards, but works of art in their own right. They were often hand-painted by artists and decorated with gold and rich colors. Families such as the Visconti and the Sforza commissioned complete decks as symbols of status and cultural refinement. The imagery on these cards reflected the worldview of the time, with figures such as the emperor, the pope, the lovers, and death. These symbols were not intended as magical signs, but as allegories of life, power, religion, and human experience. They told a story about the place of human beings in the cosmos and the social order of society. The game itself was complex and strategic, resembling in some ways modern trick-taking card games. It gradually spread across Europe and developed different names and variations depending on the region. In France, it became known as tarot, and for a long time it remained primarily a card game without esoteric meaning. Even today, tarot is still played in some parts of Europe as a traditional game, which serves as a reminder of its original purpose. The major shift in meaning came only in the 18th century, when Europe entered a period of intellectual and spiritual rediscovery. There was a growing fascination with ancient civilizations, hidden knowledge, and mystical traditions. In this context, tarot began to be interpreted differently. Antoine Court de Gebelin, a French scholar, proposed that tarot cards were actually remnants of an ancient Egyptian system of wisdom. He believed that the symbols on the cards contained secret knowledge that had been passed down through the ages. Although there is no historical evidence that tarot originated in Egypt, this idea had a profound influence. It gave tarot an aura of mystery and antiquity, and made it appealing to those seeking hidden meanings and spiritual insight. This marked the beginning of tarot's transformation from a game into an esoteric system. Shortly after this, Jean-Baptiste Aliette Better, known as Attila, became the first to actively use tarot for divination. He created his own deck and developed a system of interpretations in which each card was assigned a specific meaning. He connected tarot with astrology and elements of everyday life and made it accessible to a broader audience. This was a crucial moment because from this point onward, tarot was seen as a tool for exploring the future and gaining insight into personal situations. In the 19th century, tarot became further integrated into the growing world of esoteric and occult traditions. This period was marked by renewed interest in mysticism, symbolism, and hidden knowledge. Groups and societies began to study tarot and link it with other systems such as the Kabbalah, astrology, and alchemy. Tarot was no longer seen as a collection of individual cards, but as a coherent system capable of describing the journey of the soul, and the development of the human being. The structure of tarot was refined during this time into what we now know as the major arcana and the minor arcana. The major arcana consists of 22 cards representing significant life lessons and archetypal experiences, such as the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, and the World. These cards are often seen as symbols of spiritual growth and inner transformation. The minor arcana consists of 4 suits similar to traditional playing cards and relates more to everyday events, emotions, and situations. One of the most influential moments in the history of tarot came in the early 20th century with the creation of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. This deck was developed by Arthur Edward Waite and illustrated by Pamela Coleman Smith. What made this deck unique was that it provided detailed imagery for all the cards, including the minor arcana. Previously, these cards were often simple and less visually expressive, but in this deck, each card depicted a scene that told a story. This visual approach made tarot far more accessible and intuitive. People could now rely not only on learned meanings, but also on their own interpretation of the images. The Rider-Waite-Smith deck became a standard and served as the foundation for most modern tarot decks that followed in the 20th century. Tarot began to expand beyond the realm of occultism and mysticism. It was embraced by artists, writers, and psychologists who were interested in symbolism and the human mind. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung viewed tarot as a system of archetypes reflecting the collective unconscious. According to this perspective, the cards are not tools for predicting the future, but mirrors that help reveal inner processes and emotions. This psychological approach added a new dimension to tarot. It became a tool for self-reflection, personal growth, and introspection. People began using tarot to ask questions about their lives, their choices, and their inner world. The cards became a way to recognize patterns and gain insight into situations that are difficult to understand. In the late 20th and 21st centuries, tarot has grown into a global phenomenon. There are now hundreds, if not thousands, of different decks with a wide variety of styles and themes. Some decks remain close to traditional symbolism, while others offer modern interpretations that reflect contemporary culture and values. Tarot can be found in spiritual practices, but also in art, literature, and popular culture. What makes tarot so enduring is the power of its symbolism. The images on the cards speak to something deep within the human psyche and touch on universal themes such as love, loss, change, growth, and choice. These symbols can be interpreted in many different ways depending on the context and the individual using the cards, which makes tarot both personal and timeless. Throughout the centuries, tarot has continuously adapted to the times and the people who use it. It began as a game for the elite, transformed into a mystical system, and evolved into a tool for self-knowledge and reflection. Despite these changes, its core has remained the same, namely, the use of images and symbols to give meaning to life and human experience. Today, tarot exists at the intersection of tradition and modernity. For some, it is a spiritual guide, for others, a psychological tool, and for others, still a form of art and expression. Whatever the approach, tarot remains a fascinating system that invites people to look deeper into themselves and the world around them, and to see connections that once seemed hidden. In this way, the history of tarot is not only the story of a set of cards, but also the story of the human search for meaning, understanding, and connection across time.